Well, thank you very much for being out here today. It's a real pleasure to return here to CRC. And this program, The Library at Night, even though this is neither a library nor night, I think our wonderful staff here has done such a great job of making this space look great. So I want to give a thanks to them. Just a couple words about this program. So this is a concert that I designed in collaboration with the author Alberto Mangel, who's also the director of the National Library of Argentina presently. And he's a great lover of books and of libraries, as am I, and so this was a concert that we designed to bring attention to that fact. So this is a shorter version of it. It's probably about, 2/3 of the length of what we normally present. And I'm really happy to be able to do this for the first time with my colleague here, Derek Keller. And so during the program, it's a combination of recited words and also music. And so Derek is going to be playing the part of Alberto, as it were. So when he's reading, he's going to be reading quotations from the book. And then when I read, it's my own musings on things, and hopefully it'll be connected and make sense. So thank you again for being here.
At night, when the library lamps are lit, the outside world disappears, and nothing but this space of books remains in existence. During the day, the library is a realm of order. The structure of the place is visible, a maze of straight lines, not to become lost, but for finding. A divided room that follows an apparent logical sequence of classification. A geography obedient to a predetermined table of contents and a memorable hierarchy of alphabets and numbers. But at night, the atmosphere changes. Sounds become muffled. Thoughts grow louder. Only when it is dark does the owl of Minerva take flight, noted Walter Benjamin, quoting Hegel. The books are now the real presence, and it is I, their reader, who, through Kabbalistic rituals of half-glimpsed letters, am summoned up and lured to a certain volume and a certain page. If the library in the morning suggests an echo of the severe and reasonable wishful order of the world, the library at night seems to rejoice in the world's essential, joyful muddle. Welcome to the library at night.
Quasi facie
In the Gospel, St. John, with praiseworthy economy, summoned up the relationship between letters, light, and darkness in one famous line. In the beginning, there was the Word. St. John's sentence describes the reader's experience. As anyone reading in a library knows, the words on the page call out for light. Darkness, words, and light form a virtuous circle. Words bring light into being and then mourn its passing. In the light, we read. In the dark, we talk. In the light, we read the inventions of others. In the darkness, we invent our own stories.
Christian tradition teaches that the author of the Gospel of John is the same man who wrote the Apocalypse of John, or Book of Revelation, the last book of the New Testament canon. With its striking imagery and colorful cast of characters, it is the best known example of the genre apocalypse. Regardless of whether or not one regards it as a sacred text, the power of its imagery and its compelling narrative have bequeathed a wealth of imagery and symbolism to Western civilization, as well as inspiring doomsday prophets from the 2nd to the 21st centuries. In a piece this afternoon, we're going to be discussing the Liber Figurarum, or Book of Figures, written in the late 12th century by Joachim of Fiore, who was allocated a place in paradise by Dante, and whose symbolic thinking and theology reinvigorated apocalyptic speculation in the Middle Ages. As a musician as well as historian, I strive to integrate my love for both disciplines. The Apocalypse of John and Joachim's Liber are two literary compositions that have inspired me in my own creative work. In the next two pieces, I pay homage to both. And since here we are speaking of the library as imagination, I'll begin with a piece of late 14th century polyphony, a texture of music that incorporates the simultaneous playing of discrete melodies, one of the greatest and most influential inventions of the musical mind. Puisque je suis Fumeau comes from a time and place that was rife with apocalyptic thinking, astrology, magic, and divination of all sorts. Provence, during the time of the Great Western Schism. Embedded within the papal court at Avignon were a group of scholar musicians who called themselves a society of smokers, and who composed a type of curious, rhythmically complex polyphony. Last year, I challenged composer Derek Keller to read and reflect upon the images and writings of 12th century theologian Joachim of Fiore. And Derek combined this with the music of Bob Dylan and what he calls socio-multimedia to create a compelling work. One of the few times that you'll be encouraged to use your cell phones in the middle of a concert. Don't get used to this, though, or CRC will never invite me back. The End Times Are A-Changin' is the title of this piece, and it can manifest and conclude in different ways. In the light, I read these two great works, the Apocalypse of John and Joachim's Liber Figurarum, inventions of others. But in the darkness, I invent my own stories.
the library as home. For me, among all of Ulysses' stories, none is as moving as his homecoming. The sirens, the Cyclops, the sorceress and her spells are prodigious wonders, but the old man who weeps at the sight of the remembered shore and the dog who dies of a broken heart at the feet of his remembered master seem truer and more compelling than the marvels. 9/10 of the poem consists of surprise. The end is recognition. What is this homecoming? It can be argued that we perceive the world in one of two ways, as a foreign land or as a home, and that our libraries reflect both these opposing views. As we wander among our books, picking at random a volume from the shelves and leafing through it, the pages either astound us by their difference from our own experience or comfort us with their similitude.
I conceived and did most of the research for this concert in the modest library that my wife Barbara and I have at our home in Manitou Springs, Colorado. We named it the Biblioteca Xinantecatl because Xinantecatl is the Nahuatl name for the Nevado de Toluca, a volcano just outside of Mexico City that Barb and I climbed many times while we were dating and that has great memories for us. Our little library is directly adjacent to the kitchen. And so when I'm there practicing my art, my wife is practicing hers as a cook. In the library, I converse with minds from across the centuries, traveling to foreign lands and distant times without leaving home. And so this piece is for home and for Barb. Thank you for coming this afternoon. Thank you.